Hey everyone, I have another very special guest today on the pod. We have Charles down in Florida, one of our best investors here, and I appreciate you coming on the pod today to break down your business for us, man. What's up, Charles?
What's up, Tim? Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, can you just break down a little bit so the viewers can understand why they should listen to you? A little bit about your success in your business. What kind of volume are you doing in your business? Kind of your team size. Just a little bit of credentials. You don't have to go into crazy detail, but little snippet there.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for the compliment. Yeah, we're in Florida. Our team is we have about 19 team members at the moment. We're currently doing north of 30 deals a month. Our last month we actually had one of our best months. We did 43. We are doing somewhere in the ballpark. We're probably aiming to do around somewhere between 4.3, 4.5 in revenue this year. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing at the moment.
Not bad, not bad. And are you doing strictly wholesaling? Or are you doing wholesaling and flipping as well?
Just strictly wholesaling. Yeah, we mainly focus on wholesaling. That's our bread and butter. Never really enjoyed fix and flips. Never been my thing. Dealing with contractors. And we don't really do any other exit strategies, which they're very successful for a lot of investors like novations or listing properties and things like that. They, very good exit strategies for people, but we've gotten really good at just wholesaling off market. So that's
Yeah.
that's our bread and butter and what we focus on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know a lot of other podcasts talk a lot about like how to get your first deal or how to get started, but like there's a huge amount of work and problems to be solved in the gap between like I just did my first deal and I just did 43 deals last month. Like there's a lot in between there. Scaling, as people call it, is like the general word for it. But I'd like to use this time with you to dive into more of that kind of operational scaling aspect. So can you walk me through? Okay, so let's say when you were doing a handful of deals a month, 3 to 5 deals a month, which is a lot of our listeners. How long ago was that before you really scaled up?
3 to 5 deals. I would say that's for us. That was back in right around where we got started. To be honest, like in 2020. We got started at the end of 2019, right before COVID. That's how I remember so vividly. And that year was probably that was probably that phase for us. That initial stage where we were doing 3 to 5 deals right when we first got started. Thankfully, I knew about the business. I knew a lot about acquisitions and a little bit about marketing. Didn't really have nowhere near the knowledge I have now, but I was able to get off the ground a little quicker, I would say, than others. So we were able to ramp up to 3 to 5 deals within the first year.
Did you like have a war chest of money going into it that you were using, or was it a lot of like bootstrapping? Were you like smiling and dialing all day long, or can you talk about how how do you think about like money and investment when you were starting out that 3 to 5 deals? Because that's pretty good starting out. That's more than most do. That's a quicker ramp up time.
Yeah, yeah, and I wouldn't say I was like month one, but I would say within the
Sure.
first like 6 months we got it ramped up to that. No, didn't have a ton of money saved up. I mean, I had some money from previous flips that I did. That's kind of how I found out that I didn't like flipping. I used to work at a pretty big wholesale operation back in 2016 and 17, and I left there and I did some flips for about a year and just was that's how I found out that this wasn't my thing. So I had a little bit of money saved up. I didn't have a ton of money saved up, but I have some money saved up, and that allowed me to obviously spend a little bit of money on marketing, a little bit of money on
Hmm.
CRMs and things like that. Um, but yeah, to your point, yes, there was a lot of grind, a lot of work. I was doing pretty much everything at that point. Um, me and my wife actually owned the company, and so we were just working us together. I was doing a lot of the acquisitions. He was doing a lot of the dispositions at the beginning, and just kind of grinding it out, man. It was just literally put our heads down and did put a lot of work in, and that's really what allowed us to kind of get off the ground, a lot quicker. We took massive action from the beginning. But to your point, yes, we were, heads down, working and doing what we had to do.
If you have a power couple business, I feel like that's like unbeatable. You hear about power couples all the time, and you obviously must be working well together. What did you learn? You said you worked at a large wholesaling operation before. What are the key things that you learned from there that you applied to your business that maybe someone who's just getting started or watching some YouTube gurus maybe wouldn't understand that you had the knowledge of?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, man. I think personally, um, like what I got myself is obviously I got a lot of experience in the acquisition side.
Yeah.
I got a lot of experience in that. I was, top closer there for a while, and was in the top percentage there while I was there, and I did very well, in acquisition. So I got a good understanding on the sales process, acquisitions, how to negotiate, how to lock up contracts, and I got a general understanding because I wasn't involved in the whole part of the business. So I got a general understanding of how the business works. I understood like simple things as like what you do when you get a property under contract. You have to get it inspected. You have to market it. I saw a bunch of deals go, happen from start to finish, even though I wasn't involved in the whole process. But I saw a ton of deals go from start to finish, probably hundreds of deals while I was there, that I was
Mhm.
involved in. So I got a good understanding of the business. I got an understanding of acquisitions. I got an understanding of like just a general, even though I wasn't involved, of what an operation looks like, what managers are there. Even though I didn't necessarily want to duplicate that, I got an inside look into what a big operation has, what positions are there, what goes into solving problems and things like that. So um, you really learn by doing, so a lot of those things, even though I saw them, once I had to do everything myself, then there's a lot of things that you learn in the process, but at least I had a good overview, from a couple of hundred deals that I saw on what the whole process from start to finish looks like and how do you do that repeatedly.
What are the key things that you have done from when you were doing, let's say, 3 to 5 deals a month to average 30 deals or now? Just the key, if we're thinking about it like it's a story and there's different chapters, like what would you say are the main kind of chapters that took you from that point to where you are now? The key decisions you made, or risks you took, or investments you made?
Yeah, no, great question, man. I'm trying to put myself back in that time frame. I would say, man, that at the beginning, some of the biggest things that some of the levers that we pulled on to get ahead at the beginning were, um, understanding the tracking metrics, like the KPIs. Those are things when you first go into the business that you don't necessarily, and that's one of the things that I learned on my own, right? Like about like tracking KPIs and things of the business is that we just had our heads down. We were doing deals, but then to really start understanding the patterns, when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to everything in the business, like started to track those KPIs, really gave us clarity to start making decisions based off the data. So if we give X amount of offers, we're going to get X amount of contracts. If we get X amount of leads, we can expect that X amount of contracts. So start tracking those things, and also on the marketing side, right? Start tracking those things like how many leads it gets to get a contract. Like at the beginning, it was just simple, and honestly, the simpler the better. But understanding those things, putting and having visibility to those KPIs and understanding those were the things that allowed us to make decisions quicker, which we weren't doing at the beginning. But I would say that probably within that first year, we started tracking some of those KPIs, sales KPIs, marketing KPIs, and with that clarity, it allowed us to spend more money here, get an understanding of how to get better at sales, what we were lacking, and I would say that's probably the biggest thing that within the first year that made us, be able to make moves and invest money and continue to grow.
I love that. And I think that's one reason we've been able to work really well together is like we're very data driven. Obviously, Google Ads is very data driven. And you've been very intentional about like, hey, let's look at this stat. Like, what can we do? Let's dive into ROI for locations and see like where we can slice the data to be able to try to get better returns and optimize better. And that's what we want. That's what you really want to see for any marketing channel, especially Google Ads, though it's really powerful. Can you just rapid fire for me? Like all the most important KPIs in the business, like sales KPIs, marketing KPIs, etc., that matter most to you.
Sure. I'll talk for my company, at least for what we do. I'll try to let's go like department by department. I On acquisitions, what we track is we track leads taken, and leads like that's more of marketing, but like how many leads are taken per agent. Um, then how many what we call a process, which is kind of like a discovery call. People may relate that to if you're an in person, like to an appointment, kind of, but it's kind of like an appointment over the phone. So how many people we take through the sales process, how many offers we make, how many contracts we get. So those are the main KPIs. On top of that, I would layer on top like speed to lead, um, and average deal size. And we track that as a company and per agent. Like all these KPIs, we track them per for the company, but then we also track them per agent to be able to identify if there's any holes, anybody that needs additional training or support in any of these KPIs. So that would be for acquisitions. For less marketing, um, leads, conversion, like conversion percentage, to the leads, um, ROI, obviously, and we also track like similar stuff, like how many leads it takes us to get a contract, how much, cost per lead, cost per deal. Um, those things is mainly what we track on marketing. And then I also tie everything back in, to be honest, to the agents as well that are acquiring the deal. So per channel, we're also measuring how many leads, how many contracts, how many things are getting per channel. And you'll be surprised. Once we started doing that, we started identifying that there were agents that were stronger in different channels. And
Mm.
unless you track these things and you look at them, you don't find like the leaky buckets, in the business. Um, and we've been able, through doing that, to tracking the KPIs tied to marketing to the specific agents, we're able to make adjustments. They need more training, or let's dive into what the difference between their calls and direct mail and PPC are to see what they're doing different, because they're a little bit of, at the end of the day, they're all sellers, distressed sellers, but there's a little bit of a different approach that you would take from a direct mail lead to a PPC lead and things like that. So that would be on marketing. In dispositions, if we want to dive into that, we are tracking obviously deals assigned, deals sold full price, how many we're selling to new buyers, new buyers added to our system on a weekly basis. Um, and those are the main ones that we track. Well, individually per agent, offers per deal, how many offers they're getting per deal that we put out for sale. Um, Offers per deal, yeah, those are the main ones that we track pretty much in those three departments.
That's more extensive than I would have guessed. I think that's a testament to why you guys are where you are, because a lot of investors they're barely tracking anything, and maybe sometimes they don't want to know, some things. But yeah, that's really impressive, and I think the strength of your sales team often goes back to the strength of your data infrastructure and what you're tracking and what you're optimizing for. How often do you find that this someone in the sales agent needs training or needs correction? Is that a rare thing, or does that happen pretty regularly?
No, it's pretty regularly, and it's not a bad thing, because
Yeah,
you want to be able to, because that's everybody needs training, everybody needs improvement, everybody needs support. So I don't say that as a bad thing that constantly happens, but if you're not putting eyes on it, if you're not listening, if you're not looking at the data, then you won't find those opportunities to coach them. So it does happen regularly. I wouldn't say, and like I said, not as a bad thing, but there are, based on the data, right? It could be the marketing data, and you dig into like, okay, why are you performing lower in this marketing channel? So we dig specific, or it could just be an
sure.
overall sales thing. And a lot of the times, it's not that; is that they fall off track. Salespeople tend to they tend to, you have to kind of reel them back into the process, right? And a lot of the times when you listen to these calls, you'll find that hey, if usually, right, in our company, every four offers generally gets us a contract. If you see that for those 2 weeks, so we have like stoplight reports, and if you see that for 2 weeks in a row, an agent is averaging 8 offers per contract, right, which is double than what we expect in our baseline, then you specifically dig into that part of those calls. Let me listen to the last 6 to 8 offer calls to see what's happening in the offers that they're not getting accepted. So the data just gives you clarity on where to look. what you need to focus on. Instead of just knowing that you have a closing problem, you get to dissect it specifically, what part of the process, what part of the sales process they're lacking in, so you can dig into that specifically, be efficient, listen to the right calls. Instead of just 30 calls, you listen to 3 to 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, just to dissect that specific problem and help improve their game overall.
And is that something that you're doing, or do you have a sales manager at this point doing that?
Yeah, so for acquisitions, the acquisition director would do that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Can you walk me through, not walk me through, actually, just rapid fire, like your tech stack to track all these things? I mean, it's some infrastructure needed in place. So, like rapid fire, like the systems technology you're using, recording the calls, tracking everything. Yeah,
Yeah, no, for sure. So we have a CRM, right? So the CRM tracks a lot of the things that we do. So the CRM pretty much tracks, how many officers, how many processes, and things like that. We connect our CRM to Plecto. Plecto is just almost like a dashboard, like a reporting, so it's almost like you can just go in there and just see it in very plain sight. So we use Plecto for that. So the CRM, Plecto, and and as long as you have like within the CRM, you'll have to probably create automations for some things that you want to look for, right? So within our CRM, we have our developer create different tracking things that we want to. Hey, like I want to measure the speed to lead, right? So that's done within the CRM, but it's something that we customize to our system. So everything's pretty much within the CRM, and the CRM spits it out. Once it spits it out, it'll go into Plecto for a visual, for the visual view. And we also have our one of my assistants actually puts that all into Google Sheets as well on a weekly basis. She extracts all the data from the CRM, puts it in Google Sheets specifically for the company, per agent, per marketing channel, um, to be able to have a visual look of everything. So I would say, yeah, the CRM is mainly like the biggest thing, and having the right automations, the right views, and the right things within your CRM to be able to spit out that data for you. Now, we are in the process, possibly within the next couple of months, of probably switching over to another CRM called Salesforce. They'll probably, instead of having to spit out to a Google Sheet or a Plecto, everything would just be on
right.
their one place. Everything
Very
will live in one
robust.
place. So there would just be, a dashboard there showing all this information.
What other parts of the tech stack, just kind of rapid fire, if you could remember them, the softwares you use in the business, sales or
Yeah.
marketing or ops or whatever?
Tech stack. So obviously CRM. We we also use um, So we use a software called Constant Contact to blast out for Dispo. So on Dispo, the tech stack would be, Constant Contact. We use Investor Base, and we have automations that are connected to our CRM, that are done through smartphone, to be able to send blast messages out to investors, things like that. So that would be on the Dispo side. On acquisitions, the tech that we use would be the CRM, connected to DocuSign, connected to Zillow. So there's a few automations and integrations that we have in there to be able to quickly display the property information, to be able to send contracts within the CRM. So that would be on acquisitions, which would be DocuSign, the CRM, um, connected to Zillow, and we have our phone system connected to the CRM as well. So our phone system kind of so on the phone system we can download recordings, we can get transcripts, we can do all that sort of stuff that now with AI I think we're all learning on the go. But
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of cool things that are coming up that we're trying to implement, which is you to fill in information in the CRM. As the AI listens to reads the transcript to put that information over in the CRM. So a lot of cool things. I mean, we don't use it. We're in the process of implementing all that stuff now, but a lot of cool things that are coming in the future with AI that I think we all need to take advantage of. Um, and then what other tech? I'm trying to think if I'm missing something. And you can ask me if there's a specific department.
No, I think those are the main ones that people care about. I mean, sales is like the biggest thing, right, and everything like that. So, no, that's awesome. And honestly, like I could talk to you for 3 hours. Like my natural tendency is like I want to know like every little nuance about every little thing. Like I'm a process guy, as you know. For the sake of time, like I'm holding back. So like maybe we'll do this again. But I want to change topics a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up. So obviously, we run Google Ads with you here. It looks like you're on track to gross. I think last year you did over 7 figures just using Google Ads. So obviously you have that down, and we've been able to scale as well. So it's been a really good campaign. Can you walk me through your experience? Have you used previous providers before us, or were you mainly just doing it all yourself? And then what was the reason that led you to hire our company?
Yeah, great question, man. Yes, I have used other providers in the past, and I have also done this myself. So both are, I check both those boxes. So, um, I actually had way more success, and I think I told you running the campaign myself than actually using providers in the past. And it was something that I don't necessarily recommend, for people. I kind of banged my head against the wall for a while to figure it out. We eventually did, and we had a pretty decent campaign at some point, as you talking to your point to growing the business, um delegating things and just kind of putting more focus on other things that I can drive revenue in. I wanted to I wanted to give the campaign that we had to a company, that I was comfortable with, that could get us results, that could help us scale the marketing, that could do things that I didn't know how to do because I'm not an expert in PPC. And yeah, we connected with you eventually. And what stood out from me from the beginning, even before we started working together, is like your honesty, your integrity. You were pretty upfront. You weren't over promising anything. You were very knowledgeable. And I can tell that everything that you said, not only did you know what you were talking about, but you weren't overselling or selling something that is like, hey, I can definitely get you to a 10x or 8x. It's like, no, I see things that we can improve. I see things that we can do, and this is how I think we should start. And based on those things, I think we should see a result within the next 3 to 6 months, so we can evaluate from there. So it's a very an approach that resonated with me because that's kind of how I look at things. Like, what constraints do we see within a campaign? What things can we improve? What things can we remove or add? And we can split test certain things. And I think that approach, when we originally spoke, something that stood out to me. And once we actually started working together, that's exactly what happened. We made changes, we made tweaks, we increased budgets, we added and removed certain things, and we continued to improve the campaign as the months went on.
What were the biggest frustrations that you had working with previous providers that led you to try to take a crack at it yourself?
It, to be honest, the simplest thing is just lack of results. Yeah, it's really what it boiled down to. We just weren't getting results. Whether that was lack of leads, lack of quality of leads, cost per lead, just we weren't. And it's not like we, because even if somebody is to work with you, I'm sure the expectations are like, hey, you're not going to see results within a month. It's probably going to take 3, 4, 5, right? Especially with PPC. So it wasn't like we just dipped our feet in, and like stepped out in a
Mhm.
month. It was, we gave it a shot for 3, 4, 5 months, and we just weren't seeing results. Quality of leads, lead volume, everything associated with the channel just wasn't performing.
So now that you've been doing PPC a while, and that we hear that all the time as well, like makes sense. What do you like about PPC versus other marketing channels that you're doing?
Um, a lot. I mean, PPC is, for one, we only focus on like two channels, and PPC is the second one. So we like it a lot. What we like about it is it's an inbound lead with intent to sell. The lead to contract is lower than an outbound channel. These people are people who searched on Google something that trigger them for your ad to pop up. They want to sell their house fast. They need to sell a house that needs repair. So the quality of the lead is a lot higher than other channels, specifically 10 times higher. I don't even know what the number is, but a lot higher than an outbound channel like texting or cold calling. So the efficiency with PPC is, it's really good. The efficiency for your team, especially if you scale and you have more team members, the morale, from the team when you have a lead channel like PPC and direct mail is a lot higher than when you have an outbound channel that you have to go through maybe 80 to 100 leads to get a contract.
Gotcha. Gotcha. 100%. So we'll wrap it up here. Last couple questions. For somebody who wants to do Google ads, they hear good things about it. Their buddy's crushing it in a different market or whatnot. They see ads all the time for different lead gen experts. Um, I just had a couple of calls yesterday of like, hey, I'm talking to 6 companies. Everyone says they're amazing. Like, what do I do? Right. And I think we do have the best offer out there. But um, regardless of what I say, just you being an investor on the other side of things, how can any advice to have for people in that situation of like, how to decide? Obviously, you're like, oh, Tim's great, sure, but like, how does someone decide who they want to work with? Things to think about, maybe a way to determine red flags or things like that, so they can make a decision.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I mean, it depends really like where that investor is in their phase of their career. If they're starting out, they don't really have anything to compare it to. But if it's somebody that's been doing deals, they understand, how marketing works. Hopefully they do. It's not something that is going to happen overnight, right? So I would say that um, kind of what I alluded to a little bit ago about over promising or guaranteeing or saying that they're gonna that they're gonna get you a 5 6x within 2 months. I think that's a red flag because I don't think that's realistic. I think listening to like the actual strategy, what separates you, which you do very well explaining, like what your strategy is, kind of like your overall concept of how you improve campaigns, how you go into actually digging into the data to make tweaks and improve the performance, which you've done over and over and over with campaigns. I think that separates you from the rest. I think that those are like that's like the meat of like what you guys do. It's not necessarily like how we're going to launch and take off to a 5x within a month. It's like how we're going to launch, improve the campaigns, keep track of it, looking at the right metrics and making the necessary adjustments to move forward and make sure the campaign is successful over a long period of time.
Gotcha. I love that. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what we do. So that's great advice here. Any other things that I didn't ask you, or like advice that you want to share to people? I'll kind of give you the mic for, again, not for newbies, but investors who probably are doing 3 to 5 deals a month. Maybe they've been burned by a different provider with PPC. Maybe they've never done PPC, but they're just looking to grow their business, to get off of cold calling because of all the regulations. Like, they're just trying to figure out what to do, who to work with, what their budget should even be. Like, we get that question all the time. Just any advice you can give to an investor before we wrap it up here.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I think if you're thinking about like switching to PPC, then and you're at that point where you're doing 3 to 5 deals, then this is a good investment to make. This is a great investment to make because at some point you want to go away from having 80 to 100 leads, have to sift through those. So PPC is definitely a good channel to incorporate into your marketing channels, with the understanding that it's going to take a little bit of time and patience for it to blossom into what you want it to be. But um, in the beginning, honestly, like what I tend to focus on when I start a new channel, instead of like the contracts and the revenue and the ROI, because that will come a little bit down the line, is like the
Mhm.
quality of leads. So if you're getting leads in and they're qualified, then it's a matter of time before that marketing channel starts giving you an ROI. So that's something that I kind of shifted in the past couple of years. Instead of like when I try something new with marketing, instead of focusing on the ROI and the contracts right off the bat, which you want to see, focus on the lead quality. Are you getting qualified leads? Because if you are, it's just a matter of time before you start locking up contracts. Before those leads and those follow-ups turn into contracts, and that is probably the best metric to track, especially with PPC at the beginning. That will lets you know that you're on the right track and this is going to work out and it is working out. Um, in terms of budget, I know you asked for budget. I know that, I mean, we've been working together, so we're in a bigger, we're pretty much throughout the state of Florida. Um, and you probably speak to these, you've probably said this in these podcasts, but if you're in a smaller area with PPC, you're probably going to have a higher um, cost per lead. But It's just depending on the size and the territory that you're covering. It's going to be a higher cost per lead, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to pan out, because if it's a higher cost per lead, it's just because of the area, but your ROI may still be there, and it's probably still going to be there if you're locking up deals at the right price, selling them. You can still easily get a 3 to 5x, even though your cost per lead is higher, compared to if you're in a wider area. Your cost per lead may be lower, but people who do well and have multiple exit strategies within one market, they have a higher cost per lead, but their ROI is still there.
100%. And we see the same thing, like people who have multiple exit strategies, even if they don't, but like it still works. It's just a little bit of a different game. That's all. Thanks, Charles. I mean, this has been amazing. We've been working together, well over a year now, and I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon. And let's keep it going another 5 years. We have a couple people we just interviewed have been with us for literally 5 years, so I'm hoping we can
Wow.
have you on 5 years down the road, man. But thanks for your time. You have a lot of wisdom to share, and next time I'll have you on, we'll do a 4 hour. I've literally done a 4 hour podcast before, where I like
Jeez.
literally broke down like every single role. And anyway, like people probably didn't even listen to the end. Probably nobody did. But anyway, man,
I'm sure some did.
maybe
Yeah,
one
no, it's
did. Yeah.
awesome, man. I'm happy to be on
Yeah.
and happy to get back on here. Whenever you want to have me, and yeah, we can have deep dive into anything you may want, man. And I likewise, man, looking forward to continue this relationship and having another interview. Yeah, 4 or 5 years from now.
Thanks, Charles, man. Appreciate it. Take care, man.
Absolutely, brother.